Hello everyone, this is ponderonweather coming at you with another update. In this update, we're going to be talking about the upcoming winter storm and also the outlook for the rest of February. So before I do get started, if you do like weather-related content, please subscribe to my channel as I will upload daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. And I do ask you to share this video with your friends and family on social media. All right, so let's get started. Let's start off with the overall watches and warnings. And man, what a difference 5 days makes. I mean, just 5 days ago, this map was just lit up with winter storm watches and warnings for a good chunk of the country. There is like literally no pink on this map. So our next upcoming winter storm is on the table, but we have winter weather advisories in parts of Kansas, going into Nebraska. That's getting into Iowa, and also portions of just kind of southern Minnesota, as well as just a northern tip of Missouri. So as we kind of extend the view, I mean, we have a system that's going to be coming across that dove down off the Pacific Northwest, and that elevated some snow showers going on this morning, Sunday, the 21st. That's setting up over portions of Nebraska. That is getting into Iowa, into central and southern portions of Minnesota. And that will continue throughout the day and kind of amplify a little bit. I'm not thinking this will be a big event by no means, but there'll be at least 1 to 5 inches kind of across the board. So as this continues moving across, that'll set more snow for like places like Des Moines, places into Davenport. That'll get into Chicago, a little bit higher amounts into Rockford, and then portions of Wisconsin, and then along the lakes here in Michigan. If you live along the lakes, I do feel like you're going to have a little bit of elevated snow chances, and that'll bump the totals to probably 3 to 5 inches in these areas over here. But places in like Detroit possibly could be picking up maybe an inch from this system. And as this continues moving across, I'm not really expecting much in Indiana, Ohio from this system. Just kind of a main dusting, mainly a rain event for you guys, especially further southeast. But that'll bring some more snow getting into Monday morning. As we go into Monday morning, that'll kind of a glancing blow in places like DC, maybe a dusting. But as you get into, say, Baltimore, you could be picking up about 2 inches from this system before you warm up during the rest of the day. Places into Pittsburgh could be picking up probably an inch from this system as this continues moving across into the mid-Atlantic, into the Northeast. That'll bring some more snow into portions of New York. And as this continues moving across, you can see it kind of amplifying a little bit more. I think that's when you'll see some of your heavier snows as we get into late, into morning, into late morning with this system for the mid-Atlantic, getting into Pennsylvania, coming across into, say, Philly by then, into Allenstown, as this continues across into Williamsport, Pennsylvania, New York, and then as it kind of fades into, say, Boston, the snow amounts will definitely start to come down. It'll be more of an interior regions for this event. As this continues moving across into Monday afternoon, you can see some of those heavier snows really kind of setting up over 1 to 3 inch swath into portions of Jersey, getting into Massachusetts, Connecticut, places into Vermont and New Hampshire. As this continues up the coast into portions of Maine, mainly a southern Maine event. I'm not really expecting fairly too much for northern Maine, but even places like Montreal, Canada could be picking up 2 inches from this system. Like I said, overall, not really expecting this to be a big event, but definitely is going to be some snows for this area along the Great Lakes, into the mid-Atlantic, going to the Northeast from basically today, Sunday, Monday, and that will extend into Tuesday morning. That will be over southern portions of Portland, going into Bangor, Maine by then. And then we have yet another little clipper system. It's fairly small, but it will swing across, enhancing some of those totals again over Michigan getting into portions of the Great Lakes along Cleveland, be picking up some, lake enhanced snows from this event as it continues moving across. Like I said, it's just these are just maybe 1 to 2 inch additional totals they're going to be adding to that main event from Sunday and to Monday. But after it's all kind of said and done, this is some of the totals that we're kind of looking at over the next several days between Sunday, and this will be through Tuesday. So we anywhere from in Iowa, from Des Moines to Davenport, yeah, a good 2 to 3 inches that I'm expecting. As you get into places like Minneapolis, maybe 2 inches, but it's mainly a southern Minnesota event, and then a good swath of say 1 to 3 inches into Wisconsin, and then it's going to be a northern event for Illinois, into Chicago, maybe another 2 inches. As you get maybe in the western suburbs, possibly 3 to 4 inches on the outskirts of Chicago. And this will continue moving across into the Great Lakes. Like I mentioned, if you live along the coast here of Lake Michigan, then yeah, you could be picking up upwards to almost 5 inches with some of the little bit lake enhanced deuced snowfall from this event. And as we extend into the eastern parts, some of these snowfall totals will extend. Like I mentioned, Pittsburgh be picking up possibly an inch from the system, but a good 3 to 5 inches. Anywhere, say Williamsport, 3.5 inches, and to Philly, possibly 2 inches from this system. But western parts of Pennsylvania could be picking up maybe upwards to 4 to 5 inches combination over several days, from this event. And as we come up the coast, you see a good, 2 to 3 inches, 2 inches in Portland, maybe 3 inches in Bangor. So you kind of get the idea. This isn't a fairly huge event, but it is definitely a winter weather event that's going to be coming for portions of the Ohio Valley, getting into the Mid-Atlantic and to the Northeast for Sunday, Monday, as well as some back end on Tuesday. So now let's kind of take you back and where we came from with this huge, Arctic blast, almost historic Arctic blast. Some of these temperatures, we had over 3,000 daily record lows. These includes, daily max highs and lows. So that was one devastating, cold shot. And this mainly from February 12th through the 17th. And then we hit 79 all-time record lows, and that only really counted for areas that were just keeping records dating back for the last 75 years. So you had to go back a long ways. So just in the last 75 years, there were 79 cities in the United States that broke all-time records since they started keeping records. So that was definitely an impressive cold shot that was devastating for much of the country. And now let's kind of take a look at the anomalies and where we've been from January 1st through now. So for the last 6 to 7 weeks, you can see predominantly the cold has been across the central part of the U.S., extending all the way into Texas. Now this encompasses the huge Arctic outbreak that we just had. But yeah, some of your higher anomalies are in Florida as well as in Maine and portions of New England. So you're basically above average so far since January 1st in 2021. And then you're also above average here in California, Nevada, into Utah and portions of Arizona. But you can see where the flow has been basically off the Pacific Northwest. That's where it's been below average. And that funnel came all the way down into the deep south and encompassing much of the central U.S. with below normal anomalies. And here's your precipitation so far, just for the last 7 weeks since we started 2021. You can see it's been a predominantly La Nina type pattern for the South. It's been very dry into Texas. It's been very wet for you guys. I don't need to tell you, in the places in the Southeast, yes, you've been inundated into Georgia and the Carolinas with almost, relentless amount of rain for those areas. And there's been spotches of, heavier precipitation into the midsection of the country and the Nebraska and Iowa as well. And then fairly dry where it has been warmer out here in the desert Southwest and to California. So now let's kind of take you back and kind of give you an overall glance of just the last month of how this has played out. You can almost see this has been textbook, classic Siberian Arctic outbreak. We have a warm Arctic. So when you have a warm Arctic, the polar vortex is weak. We had that stratospheric warming event that happened on January 7th. It took about a month to get there, but when it got here, it came with a vengeance. And along with several other elements that definitely took place over time, we had a negative NAO, and then we had a ridge building into Alaska that created the classic blocking funnel pattern, Siberian Express, I call it. And this is almost textbook. I mean, this is almost textbook that it came across and allowed that cold Arctic air to pour all the way down into the Rio Grande Valley, which is very hard to do. You got to have a lot of elements coming together just right for that to happen. But going forward, this has deviated a little bit, but we still have pieces of the puzzle that are still there. We still have the ridge building into Alaska. We still have the very warm Arctic, and like I mentioned, when you have a warm Arctic, you get a weak polar vortex. And so when the polar vortex is weak, it's more susceptible swinging around and bringing cold shots. It kind of elongates, it could split, you could have disruptions, but it's not strong. It's not bottled up into the Arctic. It is definitely weak. And so when a couple other elements can come together, then we could have some more cold shots that come back into the United States. Now, if you take a look at Asia, now this is where a lot of the colder weather, comes from, the origin of the cold, and you can see it's still very cold in East Asia. I mean, this is a map from Saturday, February the 27th, and we've got temperatures upwards to 50 below zero. So there's still a lot of Arctic air out there to be, on the table. It just has to have some sort of trigger, and if it's going to come back down into the United States. So we have a warm Arctic, we've got a weak polar vortex, we got a developing, still the ridge up in Alaska, but the only element that kind of deviated now is the North Atlantic Oscillation has gone positive during this time. So there's pieces of the puzzle that's got shifted. But as we go towards, the end of the February into the first week of March, you can definitely see the NAO going neutral to negative. I mean, it got all the way down. This is only on the 15th, but for the 12th, it got down to a -5 deviation. That was almost off the chart, and that's why it just got so extreme cold. But as you go deeper into winter, it doesn't take that much of a negative NAO to have more punch for cold weather as you go into March. So even though this is not going to be that far south into negative deviation range, that's definitely going to be cold enough with all those other elements in place to send cold shots into the United States. And you can see the next 5 days, here's your average mean. So this is basically taking your average high and your average low, and you average that together. So over the next 5 days between the 21st and the 26th, you see we've got below normal anomalies again into portions of the deep south into Texas. And we have some colder shots with the P&A going negative. That sets, colder weather into portions of, the Pacific Northwest over the next, 5 days. And you can see definitely some sporadic, below normal anomalies into portions of the Mid-Atlantic and the Ohio Valley as well. But as we go into the next 5 days, so then you're talking, the end of February to the first couple days of March, we saw the NAO going negative. We saw those, well below freezing temperatures in Siberia into East Asia. And once the NAO goes negative towards the end of February, that sets the trigger, and that would allow a piece of some colder shots to enter into the United States. And this is the next 5 days at the end of February, going into the first couple weeks, days of March, yeah, you can see even more colder anomalies funneling again into a lot of the same areas into the central and southern parts of the U.S., with some definitely colder anomalies into the Pacific Northwest, getting into Idaho, as well as portions of Wyoming as well. And then, of course, beyond that, I mean, look what's lurking. Could be lurking up into Canada, even beyond that. So that's definitely. I don't think we're done with winter by any means. And so I just wanted to give you kind of a heads up on that and what it might be looking like going forward. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.